Yes, it's a completely different experience, but it's the best off. It's the toughest and best off road there is. I'd say anywhere in the Appalachian Mountain region, you can get away with it. You know.
You talking about incest?
No, I'm talking
Oh,
about.
okay. I'm sorry.
Off-road.
I jumped into a conversation I didn't even know what was talking about. You said
See,
Appalachian region. My mind instantly went to incest.
So this is Eastern Kentucky. Well, there's a lot of that goes on in Alabama too. I mean, y'all described the Yellowhammers to me, but right across the river, you got West Virginia.
Not as much as there used to be though. Everybody still thinks that we're still down here banging our sisters, and we hadn't done that in what's it been, Doug? Like a few years now, like 5-10 years.
I mean, it wasn't really that popular since the 70s, to be honest.
But in West Virginia, though,
I don't know, man. You don't roll in some of the circles I do. West Jefferson, come on, man. West Jefferson.
So West Virginia, your family tree goes straight up, right?
Yeah. Y'all actually had I think it was Kentucky had the Blue Bloods. The people that were actually blue, there was so much incest in their family that their skin turned blue.
I don't know if that's totally what it was. I think it was isolation involved. You can look that up online, and I can't remember the family's name, but they actually it was due to the fact that there was incest, and they had caught some kind of like recessive gene that like became like an extremely recessive gene that only appears in just I've seen a blue person before in my life. I mean, I've seen snake handling
that's actually like apparently a byproduct of incest. I never knew that. I can't even remember what internet rabbit hole I went down to stumble upon that, but there's like a Wikipedia entry about it.
We got our own race here.
Are these people blue like? Sorry, are they blue like the Smurfs, or is it just like a tinge of blue?
Yes, they're blue.
I don't know. It's I mean, it's like Blue Man Group blue. Yeah.
But we've got
that's a real thing. I'm not making this up. This is a real thing.
No, I pulled it up. I did see that there are people talking about this. I'm just
now there's another whole other race of people here in Kentucky, right, called Melungeons. Do you know about that?
No. This is we're breaking new ground on this show.
They're considered another race, or is that just kind of lightly used?
No, the Melungeons. I mean, they are here. I don't know if the science of them.
Like when they do their taxes, is there a box that they check off for the the boxes you check off for? Yeah, they're other.
They're other. I do know that, right? If you do the census or whatever, and the Melungeons, and the most famous Melungeon that ever was Gary Powers. You remember Gary Powers, the Gary Powers incident?
Refresh my memory because that sounds familiar.
So Gary Powers was shot down in a U-2 over Russia in like 1960, right? And they held a big show trial and stuff like that, and they took years to negotiate him out of the Russian prison, and they'd roll him out on TV every time we tried to have a peace deal, right? So Gary Powers got shot down by the first Russian anti-aircraft missile that actually worked, right, at like 80,000 feet, and he bailed out of his U-2 at 80,000 feet, which makes him one of like the 5 highest jumpers that ever lived, right? Because you talk about people that have gonads and who's tough, right? So there was a guy that stepped off the gondola of a balloon.
Say that again. How many feet are we talking about? How many feet was that again?
80,000.
80,000. So that's what my math is horrible tonight. That's like what 15 miles up. Holy
15
crap.
miles, right? So Gary Powers bailed from his burning U-2. I don't know how much fire it had at 80,000 feet, but his burning and breaking up U-2 at 80,000 feet and made it safely. So he's one of the 4 or 5 highest jumpers of all time, right? I mean, there's videos on YouTube of guys that step off a balloon gondola at 100,000 feet. You know what I'm saying? Them guys have got gonads that go clank, 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 right? I'm telling you, as somebody who has parachuted a lot, right, of all different altitudes, I've done half that, and it scared the living fucking hell of me, and I'm a senior jump master. You understand what I'm saying?
And well, I mean, your breathing is heavily affected at that altitude.
Well, they got
because the atmosphere is completely different. Yeah.
But there's the other thing to look at is your breathing is also heavily affected by burning up in a plane.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, your breathing's
so that's why the alternative
to bail.
So you jump out of the plane and then you try to figure it out on the way down.
Yeah, but if you stay in the plane, your chances of survival are definitely zero. Definitely. No two ways around it.
Oh, here's another story. So during World War II, the Germans are fighting, and a guy flying like a Yak-9 fighter, a Russian guy, bails at 25,000 feet near the Ural Mountains, right? And he goes to deploy, he's shooting, it don't work. He says, well, that's okay. He goes, I got some time, I'll deploy my reserve. And he goes to deploy the reserve shirt, and it just flies off. It's not attached to nothing inside his chute, right? And then he as he's dying, he looks inside the reserve pouch and sees the name of the guy that packed his parachute, by the way. Anyway, that's part of the story. So anyway, so he bails, right? He tries to flatten out and slow down as much as he can. He says, well, if I hit this mountain at the right angle and a snowbank, I might make it. And he tried it, and he made it, dude. The dude survived, bailing with no parachute in 25,000 feet of Russian fighter pilot.
You know, my takeaway from this, even though we're talking about some incredibly brave human beings, because you're kind of, you kind of put in an extreme situation there, and I mean your survival instinct kicks in most definitely. But there's a lot of takeaways here. So if I'm at 25,000 feet with no parachute, then, basically just start flying towards some mountains is what you're telling me.
No, well, see, he looked at the angle the mountain was at, and he tried to think the depth of the snow might break his fall, and he might hit it just right, and it break his fall somewhat and not kill him, which is, if it's evidently had been soft powder, because if it had been hard pack, he'd just died, right? It'd been like the beach at Isle Palm. So he made it. So, there's miracles do happen. You know what I'm saying?
Did he have what were the repercussions? Did he have any broken arms, legs? Was everything broken?
Yeah, everything was broken. Oh yeah, but he made it. Got to give him credit on that one, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a parachute accident I saw, right? So in the school at Fort Banning, right, there's all these jump towers, and some of them are 150 foot tall, and they kind of progress off jumping off this platform. It's like 12 foot off the ground into sawdust. They pull you up in like a hoop parachute, it's almost like a fair ride, right? And they pick you up in it, and you're strapped into it, and then they drop you, right? And right before they drop it, for some reason, they let it settle a little bit. It kind of drops you a little bit, and it holds you before they really drop you, right? I don't know if they're playing games with you, whatever it is, but that's how it works. So this dude, you're getting cranked up. You're supposed to check your buddy's harness and his rig, right? And I come up on this dude that the whole time he'd been an asshole and fucking with people and shit like that. Airborne's a macho game, but he was taking it too far, right? Just an asshole. I come up to him now, but he's my guy, so I got fucking, man, is your harness all right? Let me check it. So he's like, fuck you, Arthur. He goes, fuck it, I got my shit. I said, okay. So and then another dude said, fuck it, man, I'll check your harness. And he checked mine, and we all went up. There was 4 people at a time, right? Looked like fucking a big circus ride or some shit, and you're going to the top of it. It's like 4 flower petals, the 4 hoop parachute hoops. So we get to the top, and they're getting ready to drop us. We're going to have our first infant, infant fucking drop, or whatever you want to call it. The first experience of falling through there. And when they kind of let it settle and drop, he fell right out of the motherfucker, 150 foot. Now, here's what was interesting about it. So at the bottom of this tower is sawdust 25 foot deep. So when this dude hit the ground, he left a dent in the sawdust 4 foot deep and bounced out of it, right? And survived without a broken bone, and somebody had to restart his heart on the spot. And the black hat, the airborne instructors, come over and they were breaking their ass to save this guy. But when he hit, he made a dent in the sawdust 4 foot deep, and then they dropped me, right? And we floated down, and that's what I was watching. Does everybody break their ass to save this asshole? You know what I'm saying? He was real humble after that, though. They washed him out, though, but I seen him a couple times on his way out of there, right? He was a real humble guy, you know what I'm saying? Anyway.
I saw a guy fall into a septic tank once. Similar situation. He was just a really salty guy. He was an excavator. And he got the top off the tank and had got off. Somebody had said something to him on the machine, and he took exception to it and turned the machine off and was going to step off the machine and have a word. So he steps off the machine and marches right over to him and falls all the way up to the top of his head into the septic tank.
Oh,
and when he came out, He was baptized, brother. When he came out, he didn't say a word to anybody. He just quietly walked to his truck, left, and then came back an hour later in some new clothes and smelling better. And didn't say a word to anybody, dared anybody to say anything to him about it, but he didn't say a word to anybody else the whole rest of the job. And
I guess that's really all he could do, right?
I mean, really. And again, we all need a little dose of humility in our life, don't we?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hello, this is viral TikTok King and Justin Brindley. You're watching Smacking Off the Podcast with Doug and Shannon.
Support Smacking Off the Podcast by patronizing our affiliates' products. Go to our website at smackology.42web.io and click the affiliates link. There you will find a host of great deals to stretch your dollar to its fullest.
Great products like Showtime, Shark Vacuums, Dish Network, Vidgo, Hulu, NFL Plus, and GameStop. The list goes on. Remember, smackology.42web.io and remember to click the affiliates link for these products and many more.
Dr. Balls is a presentation of Smacking Off the Podcast.
Dr. Balls, the state of college hoops.
What do you think about the SEC tournament?
Let's talk about some humility for a moment. Let's talk about them Auburn Tigers. They have been on an emotional roller coaster this past week with the loss to Alabama and then to rebound with a win over a really good Tennessee squad.
Yeah, just
going
right
into the tournament,
Alabama
seeded 7th.
Yep, I think that's right. I've got that right here.
Just underneath Vanderbilt, of all people. Love it.
Yep. So that means they play on the first day. That means they'll be worn out when they get to the second day. And then the game 6 winner, Vanderbilt versus game 2 winner. So who's the game 2? Georgia versus LSU. So, yeah, Auburn's right in the middle of the pack. And prior to losing to Alabama, they lost to Kentucky by like 30. And Kentucky's the most inconsistent team in the conference, you know. They,
I don't know. Auburn is definitely challenging them for that spot, and Kentucky is seated higher than Auburn. So, love some Auburn humility on this show.
Let's talk about the number 2 seed for a second, the Texas A&M Aggies, who just came off a win over second-ranked Alabama.
They did.
I didn't really understand it because I was looking at the conference standings earlier, and it looked to me like that A&M was the number one, had won the regular season. And they, but yeah, A&M has been a sleeper team. Nobody's been paying attention to them. And but no, they did. They ended up, Alabama ended up winning the conference. They won one more game. But A&M is kind of a surprise team, you know. They nobody really talked about them. 23-8, tough. But you know what? I think the SEC, they're just so inconsistent beyond Alabama. I mean, if you look at the conference they've beaten tough teams. We could get 6 teams in. But
how bizarre would it be if A&M actually slips up and wins the SEC tournament and goes on a hot streak that nobody would see coming?
I'm going to make a prediction right here, and Bob, he may disagree with me, and he may agree with me here. Kentucky's going to win the tournament.
I think Kentucky's got to win the tournament, but it really won't matter if they win the tournament. Here's what the problem with winning the SEC tournament is. So you go into the night before the Saturday game, right, and you win that, you've got to look good as hell because the selection committee is before the end of the SEC tournament. See, the selection committee has never budged on this for years, and the SEC tournament predates some of these other conference tournaments. So the SEC decided to have their conference tournament championship finish after the selection committee. So whatever happens in the SEC tournament championship doesn't matter. The only way it matters is if the
and now I'm going to disagree. Now it doesn't matter as far as the NCAA seeding for the big dance goes, but Calipari has really faced some intense scrutiny this season from Kentucky fans, and an SEC tournament trophy would kind of soothe a little bit of that, maybe.
I agree, but I'm saying the SEC tournament is important, but to make a real difference in the selection Sunday, Kentucky would have to beat Alabama on Saturday, which I don't know if the way the brackets work, that's the way it happened. But it'd be almost impossible to knock Alabama out of having the number 1 seed. Alabama could lose in their first game and get a number 1 seed. But for Kentucky, what's that?
If Alabama and Kentucky both win on Friday, are they playing Saturday for sure?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think the brackets work out that way. I think. But let me check it out. I'm getting here. Went here and got me a cup of coffee real quick. Let's check it out. I got it on my other iPad.
Now, I was wondering what you were heating up there. I was going to say if you're making some SpaghettiOs, heat me up a can because I'm hungry.
Heat you up some SpaghettiOs. But
I love spaghetti. SpaghettiOs with meatballs. OG SpaghettiOs with meatballs.
Sounded like a microwave to me, so I was figuring that it
was a microwave.
Well, Alabama's going to win the tournament. Either they're going to win the tournament or they're not going to win the tournament.
Well,
and really,
let's go over these tournament games real quick, and let's talk about them real quick. So this starts Wednesday. Go ahead.
So you got South Carolina and Ole Miss. I guess you got to go. I guess the seeds you got to kind of go with them. Even though I don't know why, but I think LSU's going to beat Georgia myself. LSU should have been a good team this year. I don't know why they haven't done well. It seems like they only
had everything it took to be a good team except a good record.
Yeah, but Georgia isn't great either. And I mean, it's just all these games are also rans, and they're just fodder for the next guys. South Carolina's only one of them that's got enough spark, I think, to do anything, and that's only because the next round you got teams that are so inconsistent, like Florida and Mississippi State, right? And then
that's the only predetermined game for Thursday.
Yeah,
that's the only matchup we know that's happening Thursday.
Well, no, we got Auburn and Arkansas.
Oh, is that it? Let me see.
And then you got Tennessee versus the winner of South Carolina and Ole Miss, and then Vanderbilt versus the winner of Georgia and LSU. So, I mean, Tennessee had a chance to take the country by the horns, and they blew it whenever they had the chance to put themselves in position. So it's tough to grade them because they're so talented and they can play well at times. They've got good defense, but they just sometimes don't seem like they had any heart when it mattered to win. So the game, South Carolina is capable of beating Tennessee out of that. But the Auburn-Arkansas game looks real interesting to me. But both of those are teams that Musselman, everybody talked a lot of shit. Musselman's a great coach. Arkansas is this and that. I was even on the bandwagon a little bit at the beginning of the season, but they've been very inconsistent. And then you got Bruce Pearl and Auburn, right? And nobody loves to watch Bruce Pearl lose more than me. So that game turns me on, right? And I guess Shannon might love watching Bruce Pearl more than me. I don't know. Lose more than me. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that.
I am a fan of watching Auburn lose at every single sport in any given day. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a great thing for me.
Well, here's my question, Bob. Looking back at these matchups here, Wednesday and Thursday, out of these teams here, does any of them make it into Saturday?
The only one I could see, I think that Tennessee has the best chance because of the fact that they're playing Missouri, right? And Missouri is good, but I think they've kind of backed into their position. And so if Tennessee will win their game and beat Missouri on a Friday, I think. And then Alabama versus the Game 3 winner, I don't think either one of them teams have a chance against Alabama. But every time I say that, I watched Mississippi State and Alabama. The first game, it was relatively close, but the second game, Alabama blew them out, in my opinion.
Every time that I circled an Alabama game this year, as this is one to watch and got all excited to watch it, they lost. And I know they don't have a lot of losses, but every time I did
Doug, that means that you need to stop watching Alabama basketball.
Apparently, yes. Apparently, I need to step away.
Yes.
And then Kentucky versus...
In fact, even if they make the championship game, it's probably best that you don't watch. I'm sorry. We can watch it afterwards after they win.
I'll text you and
I felt that way myself.
Who are they playing? Who are they playing in the championship game?
We don't know yet.
I think it'll be probably Texas A&M, Alabama, and Texas A&M. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, Alabama gets a shot at redemption for their hiccup.
It could be Kentucky. If Kentucky gets truly hot, right, then it could be Alabama, Kentucky, which I'd love to see. So they because the way the brackets work out,
I still believe it in my heart. I still believe Kentucky wins this tournament.
They got the most favorable draw.
I've seen them do shit like this so many times.
Yeah,
me too.
And then come up, sneak up, show everybody that Kentucky basketball is back, and then go on to the NCAA tournament and lose in the first round.
That'd be awful, but it's possible. Yeah, I mean that's basically what happened last year. And they, but the thing about it is Alabama don't have to win the SEC championship to get number 1 seed. I think they've already got a number 1 seed. What they're playing for is a higher number 1 seed, right? Where they're going to go, where they're going to land, what regional they're going to be in. That's really what they're playing for. And if they lose on Saturday, if they make it to Saturday, lose it, it's not going to matter for them. It matters a whole lot more for Kentucky than it does for Alabama. But Kentucky's draw is better in the tournament. I mean, it looks to me like they'll face Vandy in their first game, and I believe they got a chip on their shoulder about Vandy's one lucky win over them. And plus, Kentucky's had so many people hurt, right? But it's caused Calipari to play guys he wouldn't have, and a couple of them are showing out. And they, which is no surprise to me. I mean, they're supposed to be these recruits. I guess when you have to let them see when you can't yank a guy. So here's the problem with Kentucky this year. And recently, in my opinion. So Calipari, you go out here, you're a young guy, you've got all the talent in the world. You used to being the guy on your high school basketball team, and you could play basketball, you could settle in and spend some time out there and get to the flow of the game and take over. Well, you don't get to do that at Kentucky because as soon as you make a mistake, he yanks you and puts the next 5-star in the game. Well, I never got a chance to get my rhythm, and I made one damn mistake, and now I'm on the bench, and I'm sitting here watching a lot, right? And I'm not out there, and I'm not getting into the flow. So he puts the next guy in. He don't do no better. He yanks him. Well, now you've got so many people hurt. Wheeler, Frederick, on and on. You don't even have a true point guard on the floor in our last five games that he's forced to let these guys play. So now they're starting to get rhythm, right? And they're starting to get rhythm and flow, and it looks like a basketball game, right? And they so it's just so jerky, and it's just not smooth, right? If you look at Alabama, them guys, they're on the floor, and they know they're going to be out there, and they just look so much smoother and more connected. And I have to say that about Xavier is a team that looks connected, right? Especially on defense. And then Houston just barely won their game tonight, 67-65. And then, so I mean, you look at the teams that are really flowing right now. I mean, the Big 12 conference tournament is a big deal. The Big 12's got some teams that their record is not good enough for them to get the tournament in general, right? But they've played lots of tough games. So there's teams that are good enough to win the Big 12 tournament that might not get in the NCAA tournament any other way. So they're going to have to beat Kansas, and they're going to have to beat Baylor and those teams like that, and to get in. So I believe that tournament's going to be knocked down, drag out. That tournament matters, isn't it? And so of those teams coming out the number 1 seed, Kansas just about has to win out. Xavier just about has to win out, but Alabama, they're number 1 anyway it goes. I think number 1 seed.
Even if they lose Friday.
Hell, yeah. Even if they lose Friday, even if they lose the first game of the SEC tournament, and it may even be to their advantage.
It is their first game. Their first game is Friday.
Yeah. So
are you sticking with Alabama and A&M in the championship?
I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Alabama, the way the brackets work out, but Kentucky's bracket is easy. I don't understand how Kentucky they ended up, in my opinion, with a better draw than Alabama did, and a better draw than Texas A&M. But they'll have to beat.
I'm going to say I'm predicting Alabama and Kentucky in the championship game, and Kentucky wins.
Yeah, in the semifinals, it'll be Texas A&M and Kentucky. Whoever wins that game plays Alabama in the finals. That's my prediction.
Kentucky beats A&M.
Yeah, A&M is tough. They played it. They had Kentucky's number where they had more experience, depth, and stuff when they played earlier. But Kentucky's played a lot of games since then and shaped up. And
where's this game at? Where are they playing?
I think they're playing not Nashville, but Atlanta. Let's see. It's at
Birmingham beats ACC.
In Nashville. They're in Nashville. That's right. I was right about that. So Nashville is
over in College Station. That's hot shit. But over in Nashville, that don't mean a thing.
Oh yeah. Well, Nashville's kind of
Kentucky. Not sure.
Our fans love to ride.
Fuck Jimbo Fisher while we're talking.
Amen.